last I say Assalamualaikum and goodbye. See you next time.
Goodbye. See you next time.
Good afternoon, Anis. How are you?
Good afternoon, Asil. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. So, how about you?
I'm fine too. Thank you for asking me. Well, today I'm gonna invite you to make a conversation, and we will discuss about the five hypotheses in second language acquisition. Are you ready?
Sure, I'm ready.
Okay, thank you. And we have learned together our five hypotheses in second language acquisition. The first is the acquisition learning distinction. The second is natural order hypothesis. The third is the monitoring hypothesis. The fourth is the input hypothesis. And the fifth is the effective filter hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the first hypothesis, what do you think about it?
Okay, so the first hypothesis, it is the acquisitions learning distinctions. I think that the acquisitions learning distinction is perhaps the most fundamental of all the hypotheses to be presented, because it's that the adults have to distinct and independent way of developing competence in second language. And language acquisition is a subconscious process. Language acquirers are not usually aware of the fact that they are acquiring language, but are only aware of the fact that they are using the language for communication. And I think that acquisitions learning hypothesis claims, however, that adults also acquire that the ability to pick up language does not disappear at puberty. But this don't mean that adults will always be able to achieve native-like level in a second language, but it does mean that adults can access the same natural language acquisition device that children use. As well, we can see later that acquisition is a very powerful process in an adult. Well, I think that's all about the first hypothesis. So, how about the second? What do you think about it?
About the second hypothesis, natural order hypothesis. But before I explain it, that was a good explanation from you. And now I'm going to explain about natural order hypothesis. Natural order hypothesis argue that the acquisition of grammatical structure occur in a predictable sequence. The natural order hypothesis applies to both first language acquisition and second language acquisition. But although they are similar, the order of acquisition often differs between first and second languages. In other words, the order of acquisition of the first language is different from the order of acquisition of the second language. For example, the learners of English as a second language generally acquire the grammatical structure of yes, no question before the grammatical structure of the usage. Well, is it my explanation about the second hypothesis? How do you think about the third hypothesis? Can you share your opinion?
Okay, that's a great opinion. About the third hypothesis is the monitor hypothesis. Well, I think that the monitor hypothesis explains the relationship between acquisitions and learning and defines the influence of the latter of the former. And the monitoring function is the practical result of the learned grammar, according to Carson. The acquisition system is the utterance initiator, while the learning system performs the role of the monitor or the editor, and the monitor acts in a planning, editing, and corrections functions. And it appears that role of the conscious learning is somewhat limited in second language performance. And for the monitor, is me not being only to correct definitions from normal speech and give speech a more polished appearance. So that's all. How about the next, the fourth hypothesis?
Next hypothesis is the input hypothesis. The input hypothesis which applies only to language acquisition and not to language learning. So, according to this hypothesis, the learner improves and progresses along the natural path when they receive second language input. That is, one step beyond their current state of linguistic competence. For example, if a learner is at stage I, then acquisition takes place when goes to the input that belongs to level I plus 1. Since not all of the learners can be at the same level of linguistic competence at the same time, natural communicative input is the key to designing a syllabus. Theory ensures that each learner will receive some I plus I plus 1 input that is appropriate for the current stage of linguistic competence. Well, this is my explanation about the fourth hypothesis. How about the last hypothesis, Anis?
That's
Can you
good,
share?
Asil. About the fifth hypothesis, it is the effective filter hypothesis. So it is capture the relationship between effective variable and the process of second language acquisitions by positing that acquires vary respect to the strength of level of their effective filters. So those whose attitudes are not optimal for second language acquisitions will not only tend to seek less input, but they will also have a high core, strong effective filter, even if they understand the message. And then the input will not reach the part of the brain responsible for language acquisitions or the language acquisition device. That's all.
Well, that was a good explanation.
Mhm.
Actually, we already discussed about all of hypothesis in second language acquisition. Well, probably this time to end our conversation today. Thank you for giving your time for today's conversation. And probably is it. And the last I say, Assalamualaikum and goodbye. See you next time.
Goodbye. See you next time.